but I found it in a space where it was surrounded by violence. You know what I mean? It was in the streets. Like you had to fight to come outside to play. You had to know how to fight to hang out with your mans because they wanted to make sure you wasn't soft. Of using substances, weed, alcohol to escape the pain. Like that was what we knew and that was the norm. There is a system in America that teaches violence is the American way. Turning to the streets, to picking up a gun, to using violence, to everything. It was based on the trauma. It was based on the pain.
And Elo, this was your cousin, you said?
This was my cousin's right hand, and that morning, Elo got killed in school.
As Dr. Joe Willams today, what advice will you give the younger Joe Willams and the youth out there that's also listening to us right now?
I want to like really put this out there.
Welcome to another powerful episode of Off the Count Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Abreu, founder of Made Up North, a movement built on freedom, redemption, and second chances. Today, I have the privilege, the honor of having a very special guest coming through all the way from Brooklyn, Dr. Joe Willams. Joe, thank you so much for being in the building. Appreciate you taking the time to swing through, man.
Appreciate you, Jason. Thank you for having me on Off the Count, making it count.
Definitely, man. You know, Off the Count and Making It Count is the whole foundation of my movement. So just a few weeks ago, I had the privilege of actually interviewing Jonathan Alvarez of 914 United. And, you know, he recommended me to you. So, you know, before I have someone on my show, on my platform, I always like to do my little background and you know, see what they about. And I have to tell you, you know, like all the work you're doing, totally commendable. And before we even get into our full interview, I want to congratulate and commend you on your 12 years of freedom. I know just a few days ago, when we were going back and forth trying to lock in this interview, you actually told me, I said, how you feeling? You know, we were going back and forth. You like, blessed, man, 12 years of freedom. So congrats, man.
Thank
Truly.
you, King. Thank you. It's a blessing. You know, when I was playing, I was talking to my man. I was like, yo, I want to do a 12 years of freedom cookout. And he was like, yo, why that sound like 12 years of slavery? And I was like, yeah, I'm playing off of it.
Yeah.
Because 12 years of freedom, like, I've been home for 12 years. And after 15 years in total, in this 12 years, look what I was able to accomplish through the grace of God.
Absolutely, you know, and just to add to that, I always say, you know, here and there on my platform, whenever I post videos, even right now, as I'm gearing up to release this book, Dr. Willams, is that, you know, freedom is not just about being out. It's what you do with it. And I think, you know, in your run, the 12 years, all the work that you have done, it definitely speaks volume, definitely a true representation of what it means to be off the count and making it count, you know. So again, thank you for swinging through. And before, you know, we even get into all your accomplishments, I want to, you know, let's kind of take it back to your upbringing. More or less let the viewers, the listeners know so they can have a take where you from, where you grew up, and maybe, you know, if you could share how that kind of played an influence on, you know, certain decisions you made that led you to have your run-ins with the law.
All right. So I'm originally from Brownsville, right? Brownsville houses, grew up in Glenmore Plaza. Still got access to the crib in Christopher. But I was raised in East New York. Like Linden houses, being out there from the late 80s into the early 90s, like I found a space where it was home. Like I found identity, but I found it in a space where it was surrounded by violence. You know what I mean? It was in the streets. Like you had to fight to come outside to play. You had to know how to fight to hang out with your mans because they wanted to make sure you wasn't soft.
Of course.
And so that mindset of violence, of getting money by any means so we're not going to be poor, of using substances, weed, alcohol to escape the pain, like that was what we knew and that was the norm. And I remember two things. I remember before my 18th birthday, I told my moms that I was going to die before I turned 18.
Wow.
At the same time, I remember saying this thing that I was going to be a gangster until the day I'm dead. And when I used the word gangster, I was using Gangster, not Gangsta. And when I wrote my senior project in Bard College, I wrote about the difference between gangsta and gangster. And growing up in East New York, and why that ties into, my upbringing, and the part of East New York where I was raised, it was heavily mob influence, right? Scenes from the Goodfellas is from out there. That was my hood in East New York. It was something about the Italian mafia that African Americans, we to an extent emulated. We emulated how the Italian mafia came up. And so when we got to the East had families. When you operated where you couldn't just come outside and sell drugs, it was a structure. It was a hierarchy. And when I found in East New York, like growing up under the family, being with One Love, 180 Boys, 4CD, like everything out there, it was that structure. So I started as a runner, but my boss told me, when you stop working for me, you're going to be a boss.
Okay.
So I had a level of entrepreneurship even into this criminal lifestyle. So that was a little bit of, what I experienced growing up and how that influenced my mind and just being active in the streets.
So it's like safe to say, more or less, Joe, you kind of became a product of your environment.
Definitely. I became a product of my environment, but I really became a product of trauma.
Okay.
And that's what I mean. Trauma is universal. Coming from where we come from, Brownsville, East New York, being raised by a single parent mother, having me a teenager, there's this thing called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And there's about 3 criteria of ACEs, and there's a total of a 10 count, right? The 3 criteria is abuse, neglect, and then family dysfunction. Under abuse, the categories are if you've had physical abuse, sexual abuse, and then verbal, emotional, mental abuse, right? Under neglect, the 2 categories are, have there been physical neglect and then emotional neglect? Under family dysfunction, the 5 categories are, has there been a parent with untreated mental illness? There's a parent with untreated substance use. If there's a parent or there's loss or separation through death or divorce of a parent, if a parent is incarcerated, and then if there's there violence against the mother.
Okay.
So 5 under family dysfunction, 2 under neglect, 3 under abuse.
All right. Appreciate you sharing that. Yeah.
When you tally that up, I experienced 6 ACEs coming from where I come from. So somebody from a more affluent background may not have had the physical neglect, but they had emotional neglect. So where you come from doesn't necessarily mean you won't experience trauma, right? But being from where we're from and we don't have the tools and the resources to heal from trauma, it gets exposed more often.
Of course. It just keeps adding on more and more.
Facts.
So you growing up over there in Brownsville, Brooklyn, and then around what age was it that, you started having your run-ins with the Lord?
1992, I was 13.
13.
I know that for that years seared in my brain. 1992 starts off February. Mayor David Dinkins is at the time planning a visit to Thomas Jefferson High School. My older cousin's best friend, Elo, he was a student in Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
David Dinkins was on his way to visit the school to talk about gun violence. And that morning, Elo got killed in school by another student. Elo and another Khalil got they got killed in school.
And Elo, this was your cousin, you said?
This was my cousin's right hand. This was his best friend.
All right.
And,
like brothers,
fact, he had permission to beat me.
All right.
I saw him the weekend before, and he actually in the projects and lender houses, and he chastised me about getting a bad report that I was acting up in school, and so he checked me. He was on the bike, and he was like, "Yo, little Jock, come here. Yo, you better not be And then to come to find out, he got killed in school.
Wow, man. That day, that Dinkins
day. So I remember because I came home, I was going to school in Bay Ridge.
All right.
And I came home from school and Jodeci album had just came out. And I remember I put on the album in the living room. And my mom's came in from out the back. And she worked nights for Trans, and I thought I woke her up. And it was her who broke the news. And she was like, remember Ann died. And I thought she was talking about her friend, but she said, nah, Jermaine's friend. He died in school. And according to my mother, that was the point that I started to go left, 1992 at 13.
It hit home.
It hit home. My second suicide attempt was when I was 13. My first time ever having a gun in my mouth by police, it was 13. Wow. So 1992 was a year for me.
Like unforgettable.
Unforgettable.
Yeah. All right. So you move on to that. And then when was it like more or less that you went ahead and did your time and like what events you felt, Dr. Williams, that you had to actually go through to be like, you know what? I got to get myself together and, you know, start doing things differently, you know, because I know this was when you was 13. You actually ended up going to prison, though, to do some time, right?
Yeah. I ended up doing a total of 15 years out of 2 prison bids in total. So by the time 13, I'm in. By 94, I'm 15. Like, I made a name for myself out there. I'm a 15-year-old, and amongst our old heads, like, I got a name. Lil Ja Rookups. I was making a name. Got shot at 18. I'm in and out of state selling drugs. My first real state bid, I was 19. 1998, I got arrested on I-78. No, we was on I-78 to I-81.
All right.
They found 86 grams of drugs and 2 guns in my Jeep. Copped out to 8, got sentenced to 7. I did 4.
All right.
So after that 4 years, I came home 2002, and I was only home 9 months and a week.
9 months.
9 months and 1 week after 4 years, 98 to 02.
So you ain't even finished parole? I
ain't even finished parole. That morning when parole blitzed, he came, he G'd me. He was like, yeah, we trading you off to this new one. That was really an inspector with the state troopers. They was blitzing later that day.
Wow. Yeah. I asked, you know, Joe, because similar situation. I went away and 18 months I reoffended. You know, so both of us fell into that whole trap. A lot of people, you know, that's what I try to push through my movement. Recidivism is real, you know, and it's not necessarily, you know, Joe, that I always tell people we don't really come. It's not that we don't come out here with the right intentions, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later because I know I've heard you speak on that, you know, on your platform, on your pages also. But people really don't understand that. I don't think they equip us the right way to enter society, you know. And I heard you speaking on that, you know, like saying like for a lot of people, reentry, they think is when we come home, you know, and I want you to elaborate on that real quick. Where does reentry start?
Great question, Jason. Reentry actually starts at the point of arrest. At the point of arrest, that's when contemplation of reentry begins. The moment those cuffs kiss somebody's wrist, responsible public safety looks like, how do we intervene to address what brought you into contact with the criminal legal system from the get-go?
Yeah.
What are the conditions that brought you into this? Be it poverty, be it lack of education, be it lack of support, more resources. What is it that brought individuals, right? Because when we look at crime, especially crime today, I like to say when we see acts of violence, these shootings, they're like temper tantrums with bullets.
Yeah.
There's an emotional aspect of an offense that takes place that because of the lack of emotional regulation, there's a dysregulation. There's an internal dialogue going on. This motherfucker think I'm pussy, they trying to play me. And the extreme when it comes to the defense of my image and ego.
Oh yeah, man. Ego, man.
So what you have is a teenager, a young adult, an old adult, that's, you know what I mean? A teenager in an old adult's body who lacks emotional intelligence, who lacks emotional regulation, who lacks the ability to express what I'm actually feeling and why. And what they do is express themselves through acts of violence because, right? Let's take it off the person and look at systems. America's first language is violence.
Yeah.
There is a system in America that teaches violence is the American way. And so when we learn this system and we learn this language, yes, you're right. They don't equip individuals to come home with proper rehabilitation because that's not the plan.
Of course, I always say that as long as we keep going back, Joe, it's job security for everybody, for the COs, the judges, the prosecutors, and that's what I'm fighting against, and I know you also, through the work you doing, I even heard you mention on your interview before, it's like, if you could help one brother or one sister steer him out the system, then you feel you did your job, which is, my whole mindset with everything I'm doing behind this. So now you out 9 months, you reoffend, and now when you went away this time, was this the big stretch you did, Joe?
Jason, this one. This thing.
This was the one this one sat you down, right?
So I ain't gonna front, right? Like when they hit, it was a dark time in my life, right? I'm not even going, and we coming up on October. And I realized I suffer from seasonal depression, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize for a long time throughout that last bid, it was related to even before the bid, right? In 2010, while I was in Easton, I lost 3 family members back to back. And the last one I lost was in October, I believe it was around October. And so I used to think that when October hits, I feel like I'm in this funk, I'm in this gloom, and it won't be until we midway through I realize, oh shit, it's October. Oh. Recently I was at work. I think this might have been last year. And when we talk about that time, that 9 months that I was home, and 9 months that I was home, not only did I get my daughter's mother pregnant, when the state troopers raided, my daughter's mother was 3 months pregnant with my daughter. My pops got killed in a setup that was meant for me.
Wow.
Right? And so in that space of that 9 months, there was so much trauma that was experienced that what I used to think was October related to the loss of my loved ones, it was last year. I was like, yo, when did my pops die? Like, when did he get killed? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I was present. Like, they thought they was hitting me.
This was during the course of those 9 months that you was out here.
Wow. 9 months I was home.
So it was a whole difficult series of events that you went through in those 9 months.
Oh, Jason. So when I Googled his name, I Googled my father's first, middle, last name, and it came up, his obituary, and it was in October of 2002. So then it hit me, the seasonal depression really dated back to before I even caught the next case. I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so by January, my pops got killed in October. A lot went on. By January, I needed to get back on my feet. So I figured, let me do a robbery. Right?
All right.
Something easy. I don't got to hit nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I robbed the movie theater in the Galleria Mall in Middletown.
All right.
Emptied out the back safes, got away. And 9 days later, that's when the state troopers came that morning. That's when my PO was at the house.
You tried to 48 you. Yeah.
So when they blitzed, my daughter's mother, by that, I had work back on the streets.
All right.
So my daughter's mother tried to hide the work that I had in the house, and then they found it on her bag. And then they brought her to the barracks, the state trooper barracks. And meanwhile, I was there. They was questioning me, and I'm giving them the runaround. I'm not copping out. They asked me about a robbery. I ain't do a robbery. We going back and forth.
Of course, yeah.
When they brought her in, she's 3 months pregnant. Yeah, what you doing? They found this in her bag. I can't let her go through the system,
Nah, of
bro.
course, man.
I can't have her.
Don't even
talk to her.
Yeah.
I don't even need, like, you ain't
At
not
that
even
point, it's like, it don't even matter what you, all the back and forth you doing with them. At this point, I could imagine what you going through, like, man, I just got to face the music at this point.
Out of here.
Yeah, of course.
So I say, yo, listen, let her go. I verify she's home. I confess to the robbery. I make a full statement. Your homie sat back. He was like, yo, we was here for 2 hours. Why now? He took his glasses off, started cleaning them. I'm like, yo, look, just let her go. I verify that she's home. I put the drugs in her bag. She ain't know that they was there. I make a full confession to the robbery. You get a statement, but you let her go. He was like, all right, wait right here. So he bounced. 20 half hour later, came back, slid me the cell phone across the table. He said, call home. So I called the crib and she picked up. She was crying. She didn't tell me that they took a picture and printed her, but she was like, yo, I'm home, blah, blah, blah.
All right.
So I made the stay. I confessed to the robbery. I said, yo, I did it, blah, blah, blah. I threw the gun over the George Washington Bridge. I got rid of all the robbery money. This is the way I did it. DA first offer was 15.
Out there in Middletown.
Yeah, nobody got hurt. I ain't take nothing off their person. I used the AR, I used the assault rifle. I let a shot go in the ceiling, right? Because homie thought I was playing.
All right.
But all of the employees said I never leveled it at the chest.
Yeah.
I never pointed at him. Always had it up in the ceiling. But once I let the shot go, they know it's real. I don't need to level it.
Of course, yeah.
I took control of the space, got them in office, boom, boom, boom. Palms down, eyes closed. If I touch you, I'm talking to you. Frisk everybody, make sure nobody got a hammer on them. You know what I mean? DA offer was 15. So the day I was there to pick my jury, the judge capped the sentence at 13. I took a 13 flat, and off of that, I did close to 11. All right. So from January of 2003, when I went in, I came home August 30th, 2013.
That's crazy. So, like, from what I'm understanding, it's like, they ain't even have you, to be honest, right, Joe? Like, because you had to make that confession. They were going based off assumptions. So basically, if the whole situation with baby moms, her not getting caught up, man. But you know what? I guess, I'm a firm believer. Everything happens for a reason, because it was through this incarceration. I want to say I think, right, Joe, that this was like the turning point for you, right?
Yeah, this was it. And I give Christ the credit, right? Because when I went in the prison, I was a 5%er, right? I believed the black man was God, the white man was the devil, right?
All right.
I became a 5%er in the early 90s in Spofford. I came home with knowledge of self. When my hood became blood, I was like one of the few God bodies in the hood,
Yeah.
So it was always about this poor righteous teacher to enlightenment, to help my people, right? When I went in, my daughter's mother was 3 months pregnant. And growing up, my pops wasn't in the picture for me, right? At the end, like, he was hustling for me, but he wasn't there to raise me, to guide me, to pour into me, right?
Yeah.
Because he was struggling with his own struggles, his capacity. But when my daughter's mother said, I'm having this baby, Jason, that was the body shot that said, something gotta give. I swore I wouldn't be like my father, but here it is, my series of decisions is now gonna have me away from my baby for a decade at the minimum.
Wow, man.
I knew something had to give.
Wow, man. Yeah, so that definitely played a part. And, through my second incarceration, I came across, Joe, this quote that I never forget, and I always remind myself, which is, if nothing changes, then nothing changes. So, like, I want to kind of get into, how will you compare your first incarceration versus your second? Like, what were some of the things that you did differently this time around that actually help you make that transition and become the man who you are today?
All right. So it was two things, really three. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The first thing, it was, I took advantage of ceiling time. That was the first thing. The second thing was, I gave my life to Christ.
Amen.
And the third thing was I actively sought higher education as a strategy to my bid. I'll explain. When I first, came up north, or my first bid in Jersey, I was wilding. I was gambling. I was hustling. I was
getting time out.
I was in the yard. I was wilding in Jersey, right? I got knocked. Sometimes people, when you do a bid in another state, you might be out there hustling. You might know somebody out there. I got knocked on the highway.
Yeah?
Like, I don't know nobody. We was passing through. I don't know nobody in Jersey. So now I got to do a whole bid in a whole state.
Well, like strangers,
And look, my Cody, because I took the weight, my Cody got bailed out. I cut him loose. So I'm doing from the county throughout Dolo.
So you just sat up the whole time.
I sat up the whole time. My bell, it hit the pay. My bell was like half an M. They wasn't trying. No, that half an M was this time. I think the first bell was like 50K or something.
All right.
And my mom was like, I don't got that. And I ain't asking for it.
Yeah, especially back then, like 50,000 now. Imagine back then, yeah.
So that was the first thing, right? I was wailing. The second bid, I recognized I was about to, my series of decisions pulled me away from my daughter. So when I sat back and took advantage of ceiling time, and that's something I realized as I'm thinking about, what's the difference between us that's coming home, doing what we're doing, and some of these people that's always been home, right? How do we come home and in a short amount of time, we surpass a lot of these cats. We got our grown on,
Of course.
And I recognize that for some of us, we took advantage of ceiling time. When you out here, you don't really got ceiling time.
No.
Because everything is the hustle and bustle of life. When we up north, we literally got a time out. We got to sit down.
Of course.
And then ceiling time, when your life play, you get to actually see your series of decisions. And then you start to take accountability.
Absolutely.
And now I can't blame nobody.
Absolutely.
So that was the first thing, ceiling time. Second, by me, I remember when I got knocked on the second one, and I'm in the county, and I'm like, yo, how you back here and you God? I remember asking myself that in the cell. I'm like, yo, how you back here and you God? And so, through the course of that, recognize that I am not this higher power, that there is
a higher power
in the way that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And no, I'm not a Christian. I'm a disciple of Christ because I don't adhere to religion. I have a relationship, So with that changed my lens on life. That changed how I approached my bid. And now the third part was I did not just do the time or let the time do me. I said, what is in my power that I can do with this time that's going to benefit me when that door opens? Because they fucked up by locking me up.
Yeah.
And so those was the difference in the first bit and the last bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you touch up on those, Joe. I think that's more or less the first two things that you mentioned, what kind of happened with me, I started taking ownership, even with my whole situation. I started blaming the system. I stopped blaming the individual that told on me. Not to say that I condone that, but at the end of the day, I got to hold myself accountable, and that reality came to me once while I was in KSAT. A counselor told me, he's like, yeah, you huffing and puffing, you mad because homeboy did what he did. But if you wasn't moving how you was moving, you would have not put yourself in that position, So similar like you, I speak about it right now in my upcoming book I'm about to launch. And I think, yeah, man, I definitely gave myself to God too, and having a higher power is always something that we got to keep in mind. And it's not necessarily me or you telling people to go believe in God, because everybody has the different beliefs, but you definitely got to have that know in your mind that there's somebody above you that's, holding down your whole existence and your well-being. So now this happens to you throughout this incarceration. What were some of the things that you were able to accomplish? Because like I said, your resume speaks volumes, my brother, from what you did throughout that incarceration to when you came home to what you still doing today, you know, and those are the things that I really wanna highlight, you know, not only for the brothers and sisters coming home, you know, Joe, but for the whole world entirely, because too many times we come home and everybody wants to have this stigma on us. Oh, we felons, we convicts, and they think that that's where it ends for us. And you know, hey man, you live in proof. You could do whatever you want to do when you walk out them gates. So please let me know, like, more or less how some of the things you got done right now in your incarceration, your last one.
So I knew that higher education was the key, right? I knew that after being a 2-time violent felon, if I didn't want to come home and have to turn to a life of crime, right? Many of us, when we come up in poverty, we turn to criminality, not because we trying to be thugs for the sake of being thugs. That's a Jay-Z line. But we trying to get money.
Yeah.
Like we tapped out of the means and the resources to provide.
Course, man.
And to be in a relationship, to want to court, to date, you need money. Absolutely. To want to have a family and a healthy family, you need money. You know, so when people turn to crime, it's not that, and this idea of money, I don't want to make it seem like, you know, people chasing a dollar, but we have learned this American dream, which is part of violence being the first language of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then this American dream, how do you make money? So for me, while I'm sitting down, I'm like, all right, I don't want to come home picking up a drug or pitching drugs. I don't want to come home picking up no guns. All right, let me get a college degree. Let me come home with a higher level of education. And let me see what that could open up the door for me. And so I was literally, at one point, I was in Clinton, Dannemora, and I was eligible for transfers. I was turning transfers down. I was in the Maine. And my mom was like, nah, don't go on no transfer. Like, you went on the block, you working in the school building.
Probably trailer visits. You getting
trailers.
Yeah,
I'm getting FRPs, my mom's, my grandma's, my daughter. Like, I'm good. I'm getting packages. I'm
comfortable,
I'm on a Brooklyn workout court, so I'm outside working out. I got the court up on the hills. We getting wood. I'm cooking up breakfast. I'm betting.
Mm-hmm.
Found out they got college up in Sing Sing, so I find out put in for a transfer. Come to find out, instead of me going to Sing Sing, I make it to Shawanga.
All right.
When I make it to Shawanga, like within a month, my classification goes from Max A to Max B. Because of that, they put in for another transfer, and I'm telling my counselor, I want to go to Sing Sing. She like, yo, Max B, she puts me in for Eastern. So I get to Eastern, and I'm upset, because I'm like, God, I'm not understanding your plan. Like, I'm moving these chess pieces across the board. I'm trying to get to a jail that got college.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm there 2 nights. I'm talking to one of the brothers in Lake Rec, and I'm telling him my plan and my grievance with God. I'm like, I ain't understanding God right now, blah, blah, blah. And he look over, he like, and that's the brother Rock. He like, yo, you know they got Bard here. And I'm like, Bard, what's that? He say, college.
Wow.
And yo, Jason, when I say I saw the chess move,
wow. I love it, man. And you were, the last thing you was expecting is that they had college over there.
College there.
And you over here grieving with God.
Facts. And I'm trying to get to Sing Sing because they had the Mercy College, right? I don't know about Bard. I don't know Bard is an Ivy League university. That's Annandale on the Hudson. That's
crazy, man. You know, you see me smiling because similar, you know, like how I just, you know, congratulated you on your 12 years of release. You know, Joe, I actually, by the graces of God, I got discharged from parole a few days ago. Nice. Also, yeah, man. Congrats. Thank you, man. So, you know, still feels unreal. Like I'm still taking it in. But my point is, like, even throughout my journey, certain things have happened to me. I've come across certain situations and I'm not understanding it at the moment. But all of a sudden, it's like God just opens up another door for me. So you sharing that, it just goes to show how when you make that decision, like now you say, you know, my purpose is I'm going to give this education a shot. God will connect you with the right people, places, and opportunities. So now 2 days in Eastern, you find out College. So you went and signed up for it.
Very next day, I'm in the school building. As soon as they crack out, I'm in the school building like this. Yo, where the board office? So it was a brother Jules. He was the clerk. So he was sitting down. I kind of bum rushed in there. Like, yo, how you sign up? He was like, when the application comes, you take the test. All right, boom. To apply to BARD, now, every year, application opens up to the facility. They'll get hundreds of applications, but every year they only choose 15 candidates.
15.
Now, the way the process is, hundreds apply. From there, they call you back for an essay interview, right?
All right.
And they give you 3 prompts. You got to write an essay. You pick one, you write an essay. Based on the essays, say 75, they'll call back for an interview. Out of that 75 to 50, they'll pick 15. So there's been brothers who have been in the facility for years and have tried years on end because it's a rigorous selection process. Me trusting God that I serve, I'm like, God, you ain't get me here for no reason. I know I'm here for a reason. I put in. Now the prompt that I get is about 1,000 years of solitude. And so I wrote my paper and I started it saying, people say that solitude is a bad thing, but there's an adage, you find yourself when you by yourself. And I went on to explain how I've been using the prison experience to actually find myself, to take advantage of that ceiling time.
All right.
That got me the interview. From there, I was one of the 15 that got picked.
Amazing.
So that process, when you graduate, they open up the door for the bachelor's process, right? You get to apply. Now, when you apply for the bachelor's with BARD, your application in BPI, the BARD Prison Initiative, gets funneled with the applicants that's on campus.
All right.
So it goes through the same process of all the other students.
Okay.
And they pick. It's not a guarantee. The first time I applied for the bachelor's, I got in.
You got in.
I got in. So now my project for me to get my bachelor's after doing all of the classes in 2013 in January, when I'm graduating, I had to write a senior project. And it's a 75 to 125 page paper. My topic was cultural critiques and social mobility, the double performance of the black rapper performing as the white gangster.
Okay.
Yo, bro, I ended up getting a minus on this, but I argued that in 1998, hip hop became the top selling genre because rappers recognized that America has an obsession with the American gangster. Every year there's a gangster movie that come out. Mm-hmm. Every year. Mm-hmm. Look back, right?
Yeah.
With that, rappers did 3 things. They changed their moniker, their names. They changed their appearance, how they dressed. Okay. And they changed the content of their lyrics. And if you look at from 95 to 98, you had Biggie Smalls calling himself Frank White from King of New York. Yeah. You have Mobb Deep. You have Wu-Tang dropping on the Raekwon Chef album, the Wu Gambinos. Mm-hmm. So it's this Nas Escobar, I already said Mobb Deep, Murder Inc. Yeah. It's tied in, all tied into mobsters. Hip hop became the top selling genre. That was my paper. And that was my introduction into being able to take higher education and merging it with cultural things that's relevant to me and mine. So I got my bachelor's, I'm about to graduate, and I'm getting ready to come home, and I'm like, all right, well, what you coming home to do with this? And so one of the professors had came with some information about Columbia University's School of Social Work. So when I had left the yard, and that was another thing, the way I was doing my bid this time, I'm in the yard to work out, to play football, get on the phone, and then I'm back inside. Because other than that, I ain't deep for the yard.
Nah, you back in the books.
I'm back in the books. Yeah. I'm back in the safety. I'm at home base.
All right.
And so the way I did my bid was different than the first bid. And so when I found out about Columbia, I started to plan my 30-day, my 60-day, my 90-day, my 6-month strategy. And that included me applying to Columbia within the first 90 days of me being home.
Wow. So you ended up going to Columbia when you came home then, right, Joe?
Yes. So because I got my bachelor's, I took advantage of the 6 months off with the merit.
Oh yeah, because they do that like for
Right.
you got to do something for like and
It
it's
was
not
the
easy to get
bachelor's.
that.
It was my
Yeah,
bachelor's.
and you can't get no
I ain't
tickets.
no
Like
tickets.
so I definitely knew you was moving how you had to move.
That's a
Because
fact.
I've seen a lot of dudes, unfortunately, like, yo, they'll be a month away, Joe. I'm sure you've seen it throughout your bid, about to finally complete those 24 months or whatever they was doing to get those 6 months off, and they end up losing it, man.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm because I did this bid, but I ain't do it alone.
Yeah.
Like, it was the brothers that I spent the yard with. It
Yeah.
was the family I could get on the phone with. But I definitely want to shout out to Mr. Johnson, right? The great Zach Tate. When I got to Eastern, Mr. Johnson, he ran this group called Critical Analysis, and it was part of Exodus. And I ain't gonna front, Mr. Johnson was the first one that was like challenging about the ego and the image. And understanding that many of us, when we do things, we've been driven by our ego and our image. And that is part of our emotional self. And so when you think of a chess game, you think of somebody that when you're playing a game and you bait somebody with capturing the queen and they fall for it and then you checkmate them in 2 moves.
Yeah.
Because they lost sight of the objective. And so when we move based on our image and our ego, we're moving based on emotions. We're based on how we want to be perceived. We're not moving based on the objective of the game.
Yeah.
And so me taking Critical Analysis got with him, that helped me bid differently. I recognize my bid, I got an image and an ego, and if I run into an incident, somebody say SMD, well, one, I got a question, how did I even get in a conversation with somebody that even uses SMD? One, I'm the locus of control.
Yeah.
2, how did I even let the conversation derail to this point?
Yeah.
And 3, if for an individual to invite me to their genitals with the SMD, this is an individual that I can't let outsmart me.
You got to be smarter. 100%. Because you know what you're doing. You got more to lose. Yeah.
So it became a different way of how I bid it, is who I hung out with, is what I occupied my time with, and it's also how I strategize for coming home. So because I knew with the 6 months, my CR date was going to change from March 2nd, 2014 to September 2nd, 2013. I had a perpetual calendar from the law library.
All right.
I also knew that September 2nd was Labor Day. So that means because that's a Labor Day, they're going to let me out that Friday, which was August 30th.
Yeah.
So with that, I knew the deadline to make it to the 16-month track with Columbia University to apply was October of 2013. So by me coming home August 30th instead of March, I was home in time to apply to the 16-month track.
So you made it to...
I made it, and that meant because I applied, got accepted, I started Columbia January 2014. Mind you, I just came home August 30th, 2013. So September, October, November, December, January, 5 months, I'm starting an Ivy League for my master's.
Stay consistent, yeah, man. And like I said, I checked up on your work, so it's only right, Dr. Williams, we gotta highlight it, man. I need my listeners, my viewers to really, hear this. You didn't stop there, right? Tell them where you took it after your master's and what is your title, as I've said it a few times, because once you say it, I want to drop some statistics real quick on that.
Oh, okay. All right. So when I was graduating in 2015, May 2015, I'm getting my master's. And I'm in my cap and gown. We at the graduation at Columbia. I had my associate's graduation at Eastern, my bachelor's graduation at Eastern. I'm about to graduate at Columbia. Like
Ivy League, I'm getting goosebumps, bro.
After doing all that time. So I'm sitting in the audience. We got our seat. And I see, because of the previous graduations, I see the professors. Then I see a group of people on stage different. I asked the person next to me, yo, who that? And they said, yo, that's the people getting a doctorate. And Jason, that when I was there getting my master's and I asked them, I heard it in my spirit, May of 2015, Dr. Joe. So now fast forward 2021, I apply to NYU to the DSW, the doctorate in social work track. I get approved. In the course of me working in the psychiatric ER, I get tackled by a patient that's suffering from a psychiatric condition. I get injured, get herniated disc in my neck, a pinched nerve, sprain my thumb, like I'm injured. So I ended up on taking leave. I got to take a leave from school.
All right.
So I come back 2022, and I'm like, all right, we're going back for my doctorate. In May, that just passed, May 13th and May 15th, 2025, I graduated from NYU with my doctorate in social work, and I am Dr. Joe.
I love it, my brother. Congrats once
Appreciate
again.
you,
And
King.
real quick, you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I was reading up on, just so everyone has full knowledge of this, right now, this in the world, people with a PhD is at 2%, right?
Yep.
And for, returning citizens, formerly incarcerated, however you want to call us, it's only 1% of individuals that go on to get their PhD. And we here were one of them. So congrats, man. Remarkable work. You heard?
Appreciate you.
Truly appreciate all the work you've done, Joe. And right now, I know you have your own practice, right? Tell me some of the things that you're doing. You have something I've seen, chess, like a website you sent me, right?
Yes, Life Chess Inc. The Y and K Inc. Is Young New Kings and Queens. I spell the K interchangeable, Kings and Queens with a K interchangeable. That's my counseling consulting firm. I do a lot of professional development workshops. I have a wellness for professional development. I'm working on an agave workshop. I have 18 healthy work ethic essentials. Grooming for young men, like the Life Chess Inc. We connect with schools, we connect with employers who hire systems impacted individuals, and just with community organizations to provide counseling, provide professional development. That's what Life Chess Inc.
Okay.
Under Joe Williams LCSW, it's a professional limited liability company. I provide psychotherapy. I have my own therapy practice. I work independently. I'm in the process of forming a group practice, lived experience therapists, where the goal is going to be to attract therapists from all walks of life so we can provide therapy for clients from all walks of life.
Great, man.
We believe therapy works with the right therapist. That's our catch line. So we're looking to, the thing for me, right? And when I came home from prison, there's a quote that is my why. This is my drive. W.E.B. Du Bois says the souls of black folk. He has a quote in there, and this book was released in 1903. And that means he was writing it in the late 1800s. And the quote says, "For the chief problem in any community cursed with crime is not the punishment of the criminals, but in the preventing of the young from being trained to crime."
Oh, wow. Deep.
For me, that is my dangling carrot that drives me each step forward to promote healing for my community, right? When I think about what drove me into turning to the streets, to picking up a gun, to using violence, to everything, it was based on the trauma. It was based on the pain. It was based on everything that I went through that I was trying to heal from. And so the last time any of us have received a cut, the healing process is not from the outside in, it's from the inside out. And so the healing within our community, within our schools, within our homes, within our families, is going to start from the inside out.
Yeah.
And so my goal is not only to provide access to credible clinicians, that was my doctoral thesis presentation. We need more clinicians with lived experience of crime and mass incarceration who can reach the hard to reach.
Of course.
Right? To have somebody locked up and to say, I provide you with programs and then I release you. No, they don't prepare us for returning. No, they do not provide rehabilitation because they do not provide treatment to address the traumas that we've experienced pre-prison, during prison, and post-prison.
100%.
And that's where the issues lie.
100%. You know, Joe, and I'm, you know, I appreciate, you know, you actually taking the initiative to do that work. Because like I said, you know, I checked you out, and just to add to something that you had said, I agree 100%, which is why I do this work. And I like to interview brothers such as yourself that could come out here on this platform and really drop jewels, you know, for the brothers and sisters coming home. Of course, the youth, because when we get released, you right, on parole, they give us a whole bunch of stipulations, but they don't really say nothing about addressing our mental trauma. And it's true, because I'm getting goosebumps. Yo, not for nothing, Joe. You know, coming from that place we come from, it's traumatic. I mean, I did half of the time you did, you know? I did total of like 6.5, and still to this day, I still catch myself in moments where it takes me back, something of that nature, you know, when I was in that setting. So for you to actually be doing that work, you know, totally remarkable. Right now, I'm actually gearing up, you know, to be stepping foot back into the prisons myself. I'm gonna go as a credible messenger, you know, to share my story, give hope, and let these brothers and sisters know, you know, that it's not the end for them. You know, they could come out here and rewrite it, you know, just how you did, just how I did, and just how I've hundreds of other brothers and sisters coming out, you know. So I appreciate that work you're doing, you know, Joe.
Appreciate you, Jason. And that's what it's about. You know, when we get off the count, it's about making it count. It's how do we pay it forward? You know, when I look at the system, especially, and I learned this in social work school, we can't heal people's trauma. I'm not a savior. I can't save nobody, and I'm not a fixer. I can't fix you because you're not broke, right? But what I could do is give you the tools to help you with the healing process.
Of course.
And what I recognize is that when it comes to this system and the way this country is designed to benefit from trauma.
Yeah.
It's designed.
Going back to like what you said, the whole thing with violence, you know?
It's part of the first language. It's part, not for nothing, the American dream is a traumatic approach to community and family and village, right? Because the American dream tells you to grow up, move away, buy the house and a picket fence to block yourself off, have your wife, your kids, your dog, and block off everything, and you've made it. I don't say community. I don't say collaboration. So that idea is trauma in and of itself. So it's a lot, bro.
Definitely, man. And I agree with that. You know, off the count, making it count is definitely about that. You know, when we come out here, the daily choices that we make, not only to ensure that we stay off the count, but what we do to pay it forward. You know, that definitely goes a long way. And if you could right now, Joe, give one bit of advice to any brother or sister that might be locked in a cell right now, in a halfway home, or, you know, they just came out here and staring at a cold world that feels like no one cares about them and they might think it's the end. Like, what bit of advice can Dr. Joe Willams give them? And also, you know, you as Dr. Joe Willams today, what advice will you give the younger Joe Willams and the youth out there that's also listening to us right now?
So before I forget, one, I want to make this out. I want to like really put this out there. For all my young kings and queens, especially y'all with the Drop Your Flag challenge. I saw a few of y'all getting backlash and y'all getting negative comments, and I get it. A few of y'all I've reached out to on the IG. I'm not really IG savvy, so bear with me. That's part of me recruiting my team. But if you're not connected to a therapist and you need therapy, hit me. Reach out. You know somebody that's I'm from the boroughs. So if you know somebody that's in the boroughs, they know me, they gonna get word to me and tap in with me. I'm willing to start holding. I'm looking to soon be holding some community sessions for those who may not be able to afford therapy. So for those of y'all that's going through it and like before they call it crash out, whatever, hit me, reach out. I got you on the strength. For brothers and sisters that's in the cell, I want you to know there is hope. There is light. And I have this thing where I call you a series of decisions. One decision leads to another decision, leads to another, becomes an outcome. It's like a chess move, right? You have your beginning game, your mid game, your end game. You are always in control of your game. It's based on your series of decisions that dictates your outcomes. Sometimes a step back and reevaluating the board will give you a different perspective. So that's my advice to y'all as you're sitting down with ceiling time. For my youngins, and I don't want to call y'all YNs without adding a K because y'all not young niggas or niggettes. Y'all are young new kings and queens. I understand y'all. I know a lot of people be like, yo, these little niggas, they bugging, they about 15. My first one was letting it go. I get y'all. I literally do. I understand the power that comes from holding a hammer and letting one go. I understand how fear plays a part in that. I was afraid. I didn't want to die, although I said I was going to die. I was afraid to die, and that's why I kept a gun with me. I didn't understand conflict resolution. I didn't understand how to regulate my emotions. So I get y'all. I know y'all don't want a future where you sitting in a prison, where you getting shot, where your brother dying and getting your mom's burying somebody, but you trying to survive and you trying to figure it out. I want y'all to reach out to me too, dead eyes. If I got us, and y'all work with y'all to set up spaces for us to connect and build, and we can help and hold workshops for the homies. Everything that I got, I didn't get to have accolades on my wall. I mean, I got them to put up on the wall, but to be an authority so I could come back and help y'all. A credible clinician is a credible messenger on steroids. I got a message that I'm bringing back. My lived experience gives me credibility. As a clinician, my clinical license and training gives me credibility. I'm a credible clinician where I could kick it with you because I get it. I can also give you the therapeutic tools for healing so that you're not crashing out. For my youngins that you either been in MBK with me, those of y'all know who y'all are. Jump in the comments and holler and let them know about the work we've done, because this is paying it forward. This is Dr. Joe. Holla at me.
I appreciate that, Dr. Joe Willams. And just to say, you could definitely count on me, joining you with that. Right now, I'm actually working alongside with this amazing nonprofit, Lead by Example, Reverse the Trend. And they're doing a lot of youth outreach work. It's actually with them that I'm getting ready to gear up to go to Rikers, to mentor the youth and, to be a voice of hope. So I'm definitely going to stay in contact with you. They actually have a space that I'm going to be using pretty soon to be doing my podcast over there, where what you said, maybe we could use that space to try to hold these meetings for the youth, in light of what that Drop Your Flag challenge, have guys meet and congregate over there. Because I always say sometimes people do really want to get out of a situation, but they're so caught up how people's going to view them. So they just want a safe space is what I like to call it, So I thank you definitely, Joe, for stopping by. Before we leave, just tell the listeners where they could find you, your social media pages, your email. Drop that real quick before we sign off.
Yes. So you can find me on IG is Dr. Forjo GI. I be forgetting what these things are. Reach out to me via email if you want to go to the website. Life Chess Inc. is LyfeChessYNK.com, and shoot me an email, Joe Will, WILL, LCSW@gmail.com. Again, that's JOEWILLCSW@gmail.com. Healing is a must, freedom is a must, and I'll see you soon. Peace.
And there you have it. Another powerful episode of Off the Count Podcast. You can find me at Made Up North NYC and Off the Count Podcast on all social platforms. Remember, each and every day, we off the count and making it count. Freedom is not about just being out. It's what you do with it. Stay tuned for that Off the Count coaching program and that book dropping October 14th. Made Up North, Off the Count, a blueprint for successful reentry and overcoming recidivism.